Today we celebrate the solemnity of two famous pillars of discipleship, the great Saint Peter and Saint Paul. These two super apostles are different in personalities and mission, but assigned by the church tradition to the same day of June. In their lifetime, they did not even work so closely together. Also, we already have a feast in honor of the chair of Saint Peter and a feast in honor of the conversion of Saint Paul. So, why do we celebrate this feast? To honor them both. There must be a reason why. Now, first, let's compare these two super apostles. Before he was called by Jesus as Peter, he was Simon, and Paul was known as Saul. Peter was a native of Galilee, while Paul was at Tarsus, Cilicia, now modern Turkey. St. Peter was a simple fisherman, rugged and learned, and far from being a theological expert, but candid, eager, and loving. And St. Paul was a tent maker by trade and a Talmudic student, so he must have been smart, refined, learned, gifted with words, alert, and far-reaching. St. Peter was renamed Peter or Rock by Jesus to indicate that he would be the rock-like foundation on which the church would be built. He was the prince of the apostles because he is the center and indispensable bond of the church unity. Jesus chose him as our stable anchor on earth and the rock. In our church, we find stability and hope and focus in a world becoming all the more confused. St. Paul, on the other hand, is the runner of the race because he was on the move of extending the kingdom to the Gentile world, which was the most important decision ever made in the church. To go out to the world while holding the stable church in place as a destination, direction, home, and haven. Paul became the mobile element, and this is why his imagery was so often the athletic. St. Paul was called directly by Jesus and given the keys of the kingdom, and he is portrayed in icons carrying the keys. On the other hand, St. Paul was probably never met Jesus face to face. He was once a persecutor of the church, and his conversion came about through a vision on the road to Damascus. He hated and persecuted Christians as heretical, even assisting at the stoning of St. Stephen, the martyr, on his way to Damascus to arrest another group of them. He was knocked to the ground, struck blind by a heavenly light, and given the message that in persecuting Christians, he was persecuting Christ. The experience had profound spiritual effect on him, causing his conversion to Christianity. He was baptized, changed his name to Paul to reflect his new persona, and began traveling and preaching. His inspiration and his style of presenting the gospel came from visions and charismatic experiences. He is portrayed in icons carrying either a sword or a book. St. Peter and St. Paul were so different, but both of them died as martyrs for the Lord, for his church. Both Peter and Paul come to see that Jesus is not simply a way to live life. Jesus is life. Even if they are different, they are needed in the church because both of them are complementary with each other. We need stability, like St. Peter, and mobility, like St. Paul. We need men and women, conservatives, liberals, manhoben and manamko. Both gifts are needed, and that is what makes it important to see these ways as like the body parts all working for one. We are a community of persons, and some of us like to travel to and fro as missionaries, and yet some of us like to stay at homes. Just as the Lord called St. Peter and St. Paul in different ways, we are also called in many different ways to follow the Lord throughout our lives. Let us not ignore the call of the Lord. Let us listen to His call and answer generously Like our super apostles, Saints Peter and Paul, let us fight the good fight, racing towards the finish line while persevering in our Christian faith.